made $500 million and they offered him 50? Yes. And he said, what do you think my fans are going to say when they find out you offered me 10% of what I made you? And they said, your fans will believe that you're a crazy crackhead by the time you get home.
Most people think Dave bounced on a $50 million bag because the pressure got to him, but that ain't the real play at all. Word is, the number wasn't $50 million. It was closer to $500 million, as in $500 million, the kind of paper that makes networks sweat. According to Katt Williams and resurfaced paperwork, Chappelle's show allegedly stacked that kind of money for Comedy Central, and the contract supposedly had Dave getting half. Then, when he went to collect, the narrative flipped overnight.
Chappelle was decapitated in front of us. Then when he made $500 million, they said even though his contract said he should get half of it, they said he made too much for the contract to be valid.
Did your wife and children know where you're going?
No.
No, nobody knew.
No. I bounced.
Now that sounds a little crazy.
It's not crazy because the situation kind of warranted it.
The worst thing to call somebody is crazy is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
Suddenly, he's being labeled paranoid on daytime TV, and the new offer looks like a lowball favor instead of a fair cut, like they expected him to smile and sign anyway. When he wouldn't play the puppet, it felt like they didn't just shut down his show, they tried to shut down him, period. Doors got cold, whispers got loud, and the industry machine started spinning a whole other story with a straight face. Back in the early 2000s, TV wasn't today's playground. Reality shows were flooding in. Sitcoms were fading, and cable was starving for something fresh that actually hit culture. That's when Dave pulled up with Chappelle's show, and the game instantly felt different. Every week, the energy shifted, like the room took a breath and then exploded with laughs. Dave was sliding sharp social talk under the radar, masked as sketch comedy, and it landed crazy hard, calling out racism, the government, and Hollywood while still making people cry laugh in real time.
Excuse me, not sure we're in the right place. We're looking for Clayton Bigsby.
Well, look no further, fella. You found me.
Clayton Bigsby, the author?
What, you don't think I can write them books? Just because I'm blind don't mean I'm dumb.
How could this have happened? A black white supremacist.
What about people who say you're only interested in the Middle East for oil?
What? Huh? Oil? Who said something about oil, bitch? You cooking? The only way I open the studio up now, y'all gotta walk uptown to the Bronx and get breast milk from a Cambodian immigrant. I only drink the finest breast milk.
Dave wasn't scared to make the room squirm, even the execs cutting the checks, and still the show was a straight-up gold mine. DVDs flew like sneakers on drop day, racks on racks leaving the shelves by the minute. Comedy Central's ratings went through the ceiling, and the network basically rebuilt its whole vibe around his name and face. But here's the switch up. While the machine was stacking hundreds of millions, Dave was only touching crumbs. And that's where the plot starts bending, because once the money hit a certain altitude, the rules got revised on the fly. Dave's contract had him zipped up so he couldn't speak on the real moves being made, and that's when Katt Williams slid in to talk loud. According to Katt, Chappelle's show didn't bring in a few measly millions. It allegedly hauled in $500 million, and the paperwork said Dave was entitled to half of whatever the show made, which means the bag should have been around $250 million. But when the dust settled, the word from the building was wild. They allegedly told him he'd made too much for the original deal to still count, like success voided the fine print overnight. Picture that. You build their biggest show, your face turns into a money printer, and when it's payout time, they start shifting the goalposts like it's a street game with no ref. Then comes the now famous $50 million offer, pulling up like it's a blessing, but it smelled more like hush money than a fresh contract. The message read loud: take this small slice and keep dancing, or walk with nothing and lose your leverage. Dave peeped the setup and refused to step into the net because once he signed that paper, they wouldn't just own the show, they'd own him, the image, the voice, the ideas, the whole creative engine. He wasn't about to hand over his mind for a discount, and that's the moment everything turned from celebration to confrontation. When artists push back and ask for what they're owed, the smear campaigns pop up like clockwork. Everybody knows that playbook. Katt Williams put it plain. Katt said, "They assassinate your character before they assassinate your contract," and that line hits different when the money gets serious. People who remember the Comedy Central fallout know the timeline was messy and fast. After the contract drama, Dave took off to Africa without even looping in his family, which had folks stunned and whispering about why he'd vanished like that. Think on it. Why make a move that drastic unless you felt real danger closing in, like actual physical danger, not just industry shade? When Dave came back and sat with Oprah, he shared that it wasn't just name-calling. There was pressure behind the scenes to take antipsychotic meds like they were trying to medicate the problem instead of fixing the contract. That's around when the tone flipped overnight and the narrative machine went into overdrive. One minute he's the top comedian in the country, the next minute headlines were painting him as unstable, like they wanted the public to doubt his mind before he could even speak. Suddenly, the media had a neat little script to read from, and it ran on repeat like a teleprompter. Dave Chappelle rejects $50 million. Dave Chappelle flees to Africa. Dave Chappelle suffers breakdown. Same beats, same rhythm, like coordinated damage control instead of random chatter. Dave later said that once he questioned certain skits and how the show was being steered, people around him started moving funny. And when he refused to compromise on roles that didn't feel right, the narrative flipped in a snap. Now he was the issue, not the system. And once that crazy label sticks, the headlines do the heavy lifting, turning whispers into proof without real receipts. We've seen that pattern hit Katt, Britney, Kanye, and a bunch of others. Different names, same method, same result every single time. Push back on your handlers. Get tagged unstable. Then watch years of grind vanish like smoke. Yeah, that's the playbook when you stop playing nice with the machine. And honestly, that's the best case. Because if the smear doesn't stick and folks keep rocking with you, the tactics can get even colder behind the curtain. Hollywood got its own eraser, and it ain't subtle. It's quiet, tidy, and final when it wants to be, according to the whispers. That's why people side-eye those random tragedies and call them convenient timing when stars start asking hard questions and demanding fair deals. It always seems to kick off the same way. Some odd plane situation or an accidental bathtub drowning that don't add up to people paying attention. And once they plant that unstable tag on you, the crowd stops asking questions because the headline already told them what to think. We've seen it play out too many times. An artist starts talking contracts, exploitation, or who's really steering the ship, and suddenly they're gone from the scene, wrapped in a neat tragic package for the evening news. Folks call it coincidence. Others call it pattern. Either way, the timing looks wild to people watching close. So when you look at Dave, it hits different that he didn't just walk from a $50 million contract, he dipped to another continent without even looping in his wife, which screams pressure most people can't imagine. Moves like that don't come from mild stress. They come from feeling like the walls got teeth. Because you don't bounce like that unless survival is front of mind. Plain and simple. The fact that he came back breathing is its own kind of miracle, if you believe the stories about how the system applies pressure from every angle. We've heard how the machine moves when you stop going with the flow. Smear the name, gaslight the talent, push helpful pills, tweak the paperwork, and snatch the house you built while smiling for cameras. Most artists fold under that combo hit. Some get stuck in contracts, some lose their spark, and some never make it back to the stage.
Why'd you walk away from $50 million?
Well, I wasn't walking away from the money.
Yeah.
I was walking away from the circumstances that were coming with the newfound plateau.
Yeah.
It takes a while when you punch through to adjust to the atmosphere. It was completely outside of my frame of reference. I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happens, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me.
Okay.
When
you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see before, look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me."
Yeah. Yeah, we hear those stories.
And it always happens around the time in their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
No.
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy, but it's incredibly stressful.
Dave didn't fold. He peeped the setup, called the bluff, and stepped off the board before they could lock him in the box. He walked out of the fire and later pulled off a heavyweight return, which most folks never get to see in real life. But there's a flip side fans bring up. Some who rode with him since the Chappelle show say the vibe changed, that the comedy feels different now, like there's a seatbelt on the punchlines. They say he rarely swings at the system like before and sometimes aims at softer targets instead, which keeps debates loud in the comments. Maybe that's part of staying alive in a place that don't like being punched at. Maybe survival means sanding down the edges so the doors stay open just enough to work. The game doesn't just chase your wallet, it tries to blunt your edge so you don't come back and torch the blueprint. Dave found a way to keep moving, which takes guts, strategy, and patience in a town that tests all three every day. His principles might have kept him breathing, but that raw, unfiltered thunder from the Chappelle show era. Some say it hits different now and they're still arguing about why. The crown's still on his head and the bag is heavy, no doubt. But that fearless Chappelle who walked away from what folks say was $500 million feels like a ghost sometimes. Like he left a piece of himself at the door to survive the game. That version who swung at the system with no mercy might never show up the same again. So talk to me. Do you think Dave's safety was really on the line back then? And is that why he dipped to Africa in the first place? Was that a survival move, not a stunt? And today, when you watch him on stage, do you see the same energy from the Chappelle show era? Or did Beating the Machine change the tone of his comedy for good? Is it growth or did the pressure force a new lane? Thanks for watching. Now drop your take below and keep it real because I'm reading everything. Follow, like, share, comment, and subscribe to Clout Buzz so you never miss the next story, and hit that bell so you're first in the loop.